Hey folks, Jason, Painfully Honest Tech, back here again today, and yes, I have hopefully an interesting video, a video that I'm interested in, at least. If you're not familiar with Rene Ritchie, who I consider a friend of mine, I've known him for a while now, and have interacted with him on other podcasts and other things like that. Anyway, if you're not familiar with Rene, you should really check out his channel. But and I'm going to link down below his channel and specifically this video. This video is called "Why Tech Reviews Are Broken." Why tech reviews are broken, and I have some thoughts about this as well. And those thoughts are myriad. In fact, this is something that I've been thinking about for quite some time. And if you've been around the channel for a while and you've watched some of my videos where I've talked about my struggles about where to go with the channel and what to do with the channel, then you might be somewhat familiar with what I'm talking about in terms of how this very question has affected my channel. So what I'm going to do is, I guess, a little reaction video. I'm going to play some of Rene's video, and then, you know, when he gets to a point that I feel like I have something to add, of course, you know, you guys know how reaction videos go. So let's go ahead and switch over to this view. There's Rene right there, and we'll scroll back to the beginning of his video and go from there.
Tech reviews are just broken.
Our feeds are filled with like 300 blog posts or podcasts or videos about it, because that's when a company agrees to give a reviewer early pre-release access to a product in exchange for the reviewer agreeing not to release anything about that product until a predetermined date and time. And ostensibly, originally, that was to make sure the reviewer had enough time with the product to draw an informed opinion about it.
And so the interesting thing about embargoes and what's happened, as Rene says in his video, what's happened with embargoes is that it's become a way for them to control the media. A lot of that is because if you're a YouTuber or somebody like that, you're not part of the traditional journalistic sort of structure. You want access. And these guys are offering you access. And so in order to get that access, you have to agree to their terms. You can only say these things at one time or these things at another. And it just kind of really becomes a difficult situation. And my own experience with this has been that I had at times been offered early products, or I've been part of a review process where a product has been sent to me for free by companies. And the other end of this on my end is that there have been companies that have offered me these things, and then I guess I said things or comported myself in such a way that they didn't appreciate. And it may entirely be true that I myself was to blame. I myself might do some of the things or say some of the things that I said about those products differently. Be that as it may, I have been removed from certain programs and disinvited from certain companies' events. And it's your business, it's your situation, you want to control the message, and that's what your goal is. Then if you have somebody like myself who is maybe not saying the things that you want to do or playing by the rules that you want to play by, it's well within your purview to remove that person from the situation.
There were also very few embargoed reviews for any product back then. Famously, only 4 outlets had the original iPhone at launch. Smaller papers would follow along eventually, and magazines, which took longer to publish back then. But some also took longer to review. It wasn't uncommon for the big publishers to have full-on labs where they had dedicated teams run products through a gauntlet of tests. That was about it. Then the internet happened. Bloggers and podcasters and video creators, a few from traditional media and journalism backgrounds, but most just ready to tear all of that down and flip it all around. And some companies adapted really quickly to that. Others just excruciatingly slow. Some of those companies only, or at least initially, cared about the numbers. How many hits your website got, how many downloads for your podcast, how many subs or views for your video. And if you hit whatever industry threshold that they considered important enough, you were in. That was it. And this was especially true if they had big PR teams or a mix of external or internal PR or local PR trying desperately to manage the expectations of a headquarters outside the US. But others only cared about the person, and it didn't matter how many hits or downloads or subs or views, just the vibe, the relationship, and the specific audience they wanted to reach or influence in the way they wanted to reach and influence them.
There's something else about this that I want to point out. The internet did change everything, because I've talked about this many times. As somebody who worked in journalism on many different levels, as somebody who's worked in advertising on many different levels, I know that the message that you want to send from an advertising standpoint is paramount up over and above the veracity or the sort of, I guess, verisimilitude of the coverage that you get. And so, as Rene is saying there, sometimes companies would pick just people who they had the right vibe, or they had a good relationship with, and or who they felt like was sort of representing the demographic that they wanted to reach. Now, that in and of itself on its face doesn't sound like too bad a thing, except for the fact that once you start picking and choosing who you allow to access your products and be a voice for your marketing team, become a member of the marketing team in the sense that they're choosing you, and you are, by accepting an embargo or by even just accepting the product, you are then allowing yourself to become part of the marketing effort. Now, of course, that's part of the goal. However, my issue has always been that once the internet became a thing and the influence of influencers became a thing, it sort of stopped mattering what people's journalistic values were, or if they even had any or understood what they were. Many people are very conscientious about what they say, how they say it, and why they say it, and their product reviews reflect that. But a lot of other people just, might just be excited to be there on one level, or they might just not care. I mean, we now can get into the conversation about whether or not people take money to do reviews. And you might think off the top of your head, no, people would. But yes, people take money for doing reviews of products. But if you see somebody reviewing a product, well, it's required that they say that this is a sponsored review, right? Sometimes they don't say that as explicitly as maybe it would be appreciated, but they're supposed to say it. And really, access is currency. A company's giving you access, and that is in some way, maybe tacitly, maybe subconsciously, having a relationship with that company might buy your loyalty in a way that it wouldn't otherwise if you just went out and bought a product. Now, if you are a fan of a certain company or a fan of a certain product or something like that, you may already have that loyalty built in. I don't think that we really think all that much about what's going on behind the scenes when a YouTuber or a podcaster or a blogger or somebody like that is putting this out in front of them. If you're one of the chosen few who gets to do an embargoed video where the embargo lifts just after the product is announced, you are in control of the marketing message. If you're not on message with what you say, a lot of times you won't be part of that message going forward. I would prefer, since I am not affiliated with any larger magazine or publication or sort of media company, I would prefer as a solo act to foot the bill myself and not feel like I've compromised any of my integrity when it comes to reviewing products.
And the companies who slowly, bit by bit, year after year, started seeding more and more review units, which was amazing in terms of access and diversity. Instead of the same 10 to 12 people, we started getting a wide array of 20, 40, 60 people, more sometimes. And in some cases, we absolutely got better as well, fresh takes and fresh approaches. But in others, we just got more, like 5 more reviews trying to be exactly MKBHD, or unboxings trying to be iJustine. Because the flip side of expansion is...
And I just want to say there that I think the flooding of the market of products, and some companies are more likely to do this, and they're more likely to do it in different ways. Google has a way that they do it with their products, where they have Team Pixel, and Team Pixel is a sort of hand-picked group of people. What ends up happening is there are just dozens and dozens of videos coming out about those products that don't really end up offering a ton.
Most of the hot new products, the ones that drove all of those hits and downloads and views over the last decade, aren't quite so hot or so new anymore. So now we have some people who are getting desperate and just catastrophizing every product launch, literally spreading disinformation, basically becoming malware just to keep getting clicks. And see my toxic benchmark culture video for a lot more on that.
This is something that I think was a direct reaction or a direct result of access being more prevalent, and so therefore views being harder to come by, and so therefore you get this clickbait drama culture that sort of rose up. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that I had, I was part of that as well in my own way. Once it started to get to the place where every video was a leaks video, or just like over the top reaction to what feature is not, or what feature is going to be on this product or that product, that was when things started to get difficult for me. Because while I sort of always like to poke the bear and try and get people to challenge their opinions and really just cause a conversation around a product and its value, or a company and its practices, or something like that, once it got to being only about shock value and trying to get the click because you're, as Rene says, catastrophizing every single video, that's when I started to have a little bit of an identity crisis about what I wanted to be when it became when it came to covering these products. Part of the problem is, yes, the products aren't as hot or as exciting anymore. And so when they're not as hot or exciting anymore, well, you could do two things. You could either A, catastrophize and go drama, or you can go deeper into the products. And I know a lot of creators who do this and do this well and do very well doing it, where you're going into detailed tutorials and really digging into the products themselves and being more of a help to the viewer than trying to get the easy, well, not easy, but the more ready clicks from a clickbaity type video. It is what it is, but it's not a sustainable model for covering tech or anything else. Everything can't be a disaster, and at some point you have to step back and realize. And I've spent the past 2.5 years realizing that I can't make everything a huge disaster. Drama can't be the thing that I fall to every time. I have to A, be a person, and B, do something that's sustainable and won't drive me crazy and make me feel like a horrible person. Now, that's me. Other people might not have those challenges. Be that as it may, that's kind of where I've been.
We still have a lack of real innovation from pretty much everyone involved, companies and reviewers, myself very much included, because there are new formats and new versions of the classics popping up all the time. Ryan Trahan just reinvented the vlog, and it's especially frustrating because I think there's still just a huge market for those deeper, nerdier dives, the ones that Anantech did and LTT Labs might start doing again. Honestly, I saw an existential crisis, a threat coming. How long before tech companies figured out they already had tech audiences and started looking for something more? Instead of MKBHD and The Verge, they just started giving phones to Charli D'Amelio so her bazillion followers would see them first on TikTok, or let Mr. Beast give 1,000 unreleased laptops away on event day, last to leave wins the key to the park or whatever.
This is something that's actually already happened. And I don't think that celebrity marketing has not been a part of tech marketing or any other kind of marketing. I think that there's always going to be a value in that. Several years ago, Gal Gadot, who plays Wonder Woman in the DC Extended Universe, had been paid by a phone company to market their phone. I believe it was Huawei or something like that. And NKBHD actually recognized that she was tweeting about how she was enjoying her time with her Huawei phone or whatever it was. But the tweet had come from Twitter, the Twitter app for iPhone. And he kind of pointed that out, and she blocked him and that kind of thing. But that's just to say that there are plenty of celebrities who are getting paid to wear the tech just the same way that athletes wear shoes or sport gear or whatever in order to promote a certain brand's products. If that happens, I don't think that at any point we're going to find ourselves in this situation where the integrity of a tech review isn't going to be still valuable to the consumer. Will celebrity marketing influence people's choices? Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's ever been a time when that hasn't happened with any kind of high profile product where that kind of marketing was appropriate. However, it's not something that I'm worried about. It may cause what is necessary at this point in tech coverage and tech media and whatever you want to call it. And that's sort of a great contraction of the number of people who do this, because as Rene said earlier on, there are only so many views. There are only so many people out there who are making good content that eventually there will be a culling, whether it's by attrition or by choice or whatever, where people will either choose to do something different or choose to do what they're doing differently, or they will choose to step away from the space altogether. That's been a big problem. And I feel like that is something that Rene doesn't really talk about all that much in this video. And specifically the fact that tech has experienced a contraction in the last couple of years. And that has been partially because of the pandemic, partially because there's been a parts shortage throughout the tech world, and partially because, maybe economics are playing a role and that people aren't spending as much money on tech. But I think overall, you can also say that the tech market has been impacted by people's differing vantage point once the coronavirus pandemic started. I know, and I made a video about this not long after the pandemic started, and that's really kind of where my existential crisis as a person who covers tech started, is that I didn't know how to continue, because I was making these sort of over-the-top videos where I was trying to get emotional reactions out of people, and it seemed entirely inappropriate at the moment to make those kinds of videos. I'm shaking my fist at the sky about a headphone jack or not putting a charger in the box or something like that, and trying to create drama over that, and it felt inappropriate. It felt wrong. It felt tone deaf to the situation. I think that the tech market and the tech journalism market writ large, whether it's YouTube or otherwise, has been impacted by that change. And we're starting to find out how that change is going to shake out, because as we come back out of it, what are people's relationships with tech going to be? I just made a video that's coming out later on this week where I talk about the Google Pixel 6a and how that phone is good enough. And in my opinion, these days, good enough in the smartphone industry is much more valuable than a flagship phone that has everything but the kitchen sink and the price tag to go along with it. So I think we're seeing a sea change in tech that is only now starting to define itself. And through that sea change, we're going to see a lot of different things happen. We're going to see a lot of different changes, and a lot of people are going to come. A lot of people are going to go. The coverage of how people cover tech, whether people cover tech, what it is that they feel like is appropriate to do, is gonna change, and ultimately, whether or not people watch it is going to be the ultimate decider. That's kind of where I feel like it's appropriate to end. I want to thank Rene for providing this really thoughtful commentary and giving me the opportunity to kind of put my own 10, 15, 20, 30,000 cents in or whatever. It's a very interesting topic to me because I know that as someone who's not made this my career, the way that this changes, how it changes, and how I change in reference to it has really been a big struggle for me and something that I've thought a lot about. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this. I really hope that it was valuable to you. Let me know down in the comments if you have any other thoughts or if you disagree with me, agree with me, whatever. We'll have a boisterous discussion. Once again, check out Rene's full video. Link down in the description below. Do check out Rene's channel. He is a very, very smart guy and a very, very thoughtful tech reviewer. So he's highly worthwhile if you don't know his stuff already. Once again, thank you so much for watching. My name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest it hurts. Until the next time, I'm out.